Tonight, I'm David Custer.
And I'm Meg McLeod. The major announcement comes as the state of Michigan reports more than 3,900 new cases and 10 deaths since Friday. That brings the state's totals to 933,000 cases and the death toll to 20,123.
The state health department adds from January to July this year, unvaccinated Michiganders accounted for 98% of COVID-19 cases, 95% of hospitalizations, and 96% of deaths.
And as TV5's Trevor Sahaki reports, health experts are hopeful that Pfizer's full approval will encourage more people to roll up their sleeve.
I think that it's awesome. A lot of people had hesitancy even about taking the vaccinations because some felt like it was too soon, it came out too fast or whatever.
Full authorization of Pfizer's COVID vaccine was great news for Saginaw resident Kimberly Napoleon. She's at high risk and last week got her booster shot.
I talked with my doctor. We have been hearing that a third shot may be necessary. So when the opportunity presented itself for me to take the booster shot, I did.
But some still aren't getting their first doses.
I never got the shot and I've never been sick.
Saginaw resident Charles said the FDA full approval doesn't change his mind. He doesn't trust the shots.
If they do get it, I want to wait and see the outcome.
CMU's Dr. Nicholas Haddad said the full approval process is typically much longer.
It has been shorter with the COVID vaccines, but that's for a good reason because they have been so much utilized and there's so much information about them in a shorter period of time.
Haddad is hopeful full authorization pushes vaccination rates up.
Now, for example, employers will be able to mandate the vaccine because now it's fully approved.
But that doesn't sit right with everyone.
Well, I'm really not one to, I don't feel that people should have to be made to get it. If they don't want it, it's their choice. I mean, they're only hurting themselves.
With Pfizer out of the way, Haddad expects full authorization for Moderna's vaccine anytime now. In Saginaw, Trevor Sahaki, WNEM TV5.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer also chimed in on the FDA's big announcement, saying, in part, if you have already gotten your shots, thank you for doing your part to keep yourself, your family, and your community safe. If you still have not, I hope today's announcement encourages you to get your FDA-approved vaccine.
Also following the FDA's approval, the Pentagon announced it will require members of the military to get the vaccine. Nationwide, more than half of the U.S. population got fully vaccinated while the vaccines were under emergency use authorizations. The rate of vaccinations has picked up again recently as unvaccinated patients infected with the Delta variant fill hospitals in parts of the country.
The vaccine was 91% effective in preventing COVID-19 disease. The vaccine is clearly effective in preventing hospitalization and death, but may not always prevent infection, symptoms of transmission of the virus from person to person.
And as more children head back into the classroom, a new CBS News poll finds 69% of parents are concerned their children will get COVID in school, and cases have been skyrocketing among children 12 to 17 by almost 1,400% since June. Moderna has also applied to the FDA for full approval of its vaccine, and Johnson & Johnson said it hopes to do so later this year.
As COVID continues to spread, so does misinformation. On Saturday, the FDA issued this warning on Twitter saying, quote, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it." It comes after reports of some Americans trying disproven treatments like ivermectin, an anti-parasitic typically used in livestock to treat or ward off COVID-19. In March, the FDA said that taking large doses of these drugs is dangerous and it could cause serious harm.
This morning, the state announced the final winners of the My Shot to Win coronavirus vaccination sweepstakes, with the $2 million grand prize going to a woman from Oakland County. Officials also announced the final 8 winners of the daily $50,000 drawings, and 9 others received 4-year prepaid college tuition contracts valued at $55,000. The lottery program was geared toward increasing the state's vaccination rate in July. And newly released data by the state shows Michigan saw an increase of first dose vaccinations week over week throughout the month of July. As of yesterday, about 55% of Michiganders 12 and older were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Happening tonight, how will Bay City spend its American Rescue Plan funds?
TV5's Kendall Keys joins us live in Bay City with a preview of tonight's meeting. Kendall?
The special meeting is set to start in about 30 minutes inside City Hall. It's part of a continued discussion to decide where over $31 million from the American Rescue Plan will go within Bay City. This meeting is the third so far that has continued to discuss what to do with the funds. The plan was signed into law back in March, and the White House says its purpose is to provide relief in response to the pandemic's impact on the economy, public health, state and local government, individuals and businesses. It's ultimately up to the city to decide how to spend the funding, which is why Bay City is allowing for public input to hear from residents about where they want to see the money go. Now, it's not clear if any official decisions will be made or if any motions will be filed at this meeting, because the city can still call future meetings to discuss the same topic. Reporting live in Bay City, I'm Kendall Keys, WNEM TV5.
All right, thank you, Kendall. And once again, that meeting starts at 5:30. Make sure you stay with TV5 because we will have continuing coverage of this meeting on air, online, and on the free TV5 mobile app.
After a hot and humid Sunday, our work week is off to a hot start as well as we get you outside with this live look over downtown Flint and Saginaw, but rain showers could be moving in for some.
Meteorologist John Gross joins us now to tell us who that some is. Hi there, John.
Yeah, that's right, David and Meg. It's going to be a very isolated chance tonight. I think the bigger story, like we've been talking about over the past several days, has been the heat and humidity, and that is not going anywhere anytime soon. We've got several more hot days in the extended forecast. Let's get you over to Birch Run right now. We'll show you what's going on for your Monday evening commute. There near I-75, a few clouds out and about in our skies right now, but the bigger story definitely is the hotter temperatures that we have in play. As of right now, most of us are hanging out right there into the 80s. Pinpoint Doppler radar live from MBS. You can see there are just a few light showers just to the southwest of Alma, now moving throughout Grand Rapids. That's really all we have, just a few clouds associated with it. The remnants of Henri continuing to move up the east coast, and there will be another system we'll have to keep an eye on as we go into the day tomorrow. The Genesee County Fair does start this evening, and all looking good for your forecast for the rest of the evening there. We'll have your full forecast for the rest of the week coming up in a little bit. David and Meg, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Floods tear through Tennessee, killing more than 20 people, with several others still missing.
Still ahead, the catastrophic scenes with people desperate to hear from their loved ones.
Plus, last year's dam failures may have caused an increase in a certain invasive plant species. Next, a look at one recent study and what it means for our rivers.
And on TV5 News at 6, the fight for justice continues as family, friends, and supporters advocate for legislation inspired by a 3-year-old killed in a drive-by shooting. New tonight, an Isabella County teen is dead after crashing into a utility pole. Saturday night, 17-year-old Trent Ryan Carter was traveling near South Crawford and East Millbrook roads when his vehicle went off the road, hit a culvert, and he crashed into a utility pole. Carter wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and police believe he may have been drinking. Saginaw police are investigating a stabbing that happened late Sunday night on South Niagara near Saginaw Street. Police say a man was stabbed in the thigh and is okay. They believe it was a domestic-related incident.
A recent study found more than 700 invasive plant sightings along 40-plus miles of the Tittabawassee River. According to the Central Michigan Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, the biggest invasive plant found was the purple loosestrife, growing not just along the Tittabawassee River, but also surrounding Sanford Lake. According to the study, last year's dam failures likely contributed to the increase. If you'd like to learn more, you can find a link in the Hot Links section on WNEM.com. Evacuation efforts in Afghanistan continue.
Next, why officials say there's now a growing threat of terrorist attacks on the airport in Kabul.
And still ahead, House members interrupt their August break to take up the infrastructure bill. Rescue crews are searching for about a dozen people still missing in Tennessee after catastrophic flooding west of Nashville. As Jesse Mitchell reports, at least 22 people were killed when record-breaking rainfall washed away homes and roads over the weekend.
The view from above shows the destruction the floodwaters left behind. This is Waverly, Tennessee, what Governor Bill Lee described as a devastating picture of heartache.
Tremendous loss of life. A number of missing people on the ground, homes washed off their foundations.
Water rushing through streets destroyed everything in its path. Twin babies died when they were swept out of their father's arms. Survivors have gathered at this reunification center, hoping for word on their loved ones.
So actually today we came to the school to report my sister-in-law missing.
The rain fell so quickly, it was triple what forecasters expected. Amber Elliott climbed to the roof of her car with her children to escape the deluge.
All the houses down this way are off foundation. There's cars in the driveway. The scariest thing ever for me and my kids to be in, being a single mom.
Local businesses are swamped.
I mean, it's a total loss. We had about 6 feet of water inside the restaurant. All the equipment, everything has been destroyed, flipped over, washed out.
Clayton Calicott is a junior high principal who's helping his neighbors who lost their homes.
Unfortunately, the ones that are still missing, some of those are children. And we just trust God's hand that he's going to minister and take care of and heal our community.
We've seen debris piles like this and cars still fully submerged in the water up and down for miles. It will take clearing piles like this to fully comprehend the scope of the devastation. Jesse Mitchell, CBS News, Waverly, Tennessee.
Thousands of Americans remain trapped in Kabul, and the Pentagon confirmed the military is making limited trips into the city to bring citizens back to the airport to be evacuated. In the last 24 hours, the U.S. and its allies evacuated more than 16,000 refugees who are now headed to overcrowded processing centers in the Middle East. The Biden administration says there is a growing threat of terrorist attacks on the airport in Kabul, and there was a gunfight overnight involving U.S. forces.
No U.S. casualties, a partner force or coalition forces were involved, but regrettably, an Afghan security force member lost his life.
President Biden says he may need to extend next week's deadline withdrawal in order to make sure everyone is evacuated, but the Taliban says it will not agree to any extension.
The U.S. Capitol Police officer who shot and killed a pro-Trump insurrectionist Ashley Babbitt on January 6th will not face any disciplinary action. Babbitt was shot while climbing through a broken window into the Speaker's lobby. U.S. Capitol Police said in a statement that the officer who shot Babbitt was following department policy. According to that policy, an officer can use deadly force to protect human life, including their own, or to protect any person in immediate danger of serious physical injury. The department will not name the officer out of concern for the officer's safety.
The House is back in session this week to consider bills and voting rights and infrastructure. Bills on voting rights and infrastructure, that is. Earlier this month, the Senate passed both a bipartisan infrastructure bill and a Democrat-led multi-trillion-dollar budget resolution that focuses on what they call human infrastructure.
But as Natalie Brand reports, House Democrats are split over which infrastructure measure should come up for a final vote first.
The House interrupted its August recess and returned to Washington this week to tackle infrastructure. Monday morning, the House Rules Committee took up the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill and the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation resolution.
There's never been a hearing in the Budget Committee on this budget resolution is because they don't want us to offer a counter.
I think that the two parties do not share the same values in terms of what is necessary.
House leaders are hoping for final floor votes Tuesday.
9 moderate Democrats have threatened to vote against the budget resolution unless the bipartisan physical infrastructure bill is voted on and signed into law first.
The group's leader, New Jersey Democrat Josh Gottheimer, wrote in the Star-Ledger, the House cannot afford to wait months or do anything that will jeopardize passing this infrastructure bill or losing the bipartisan support behind it. Meanwhile, some progressive Democrats are threatening to withhold support for the bipartisan bill unless lawmakers take up the budget reconciliation measure first.
And there are disagreements about a range of issues, even within the Democratic caucus. That's democracy.
With a very narrow majority, House Democrats can afford to lose only 3 votes from their party to pass the budget resolution without support from Republicans. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has set an October 1st deadline to enact both measures. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a moderate Democrat, urged the House to put politics aside and pass the bipartisan bill in a tweet adding it would send a terrible message to the American people if the bill is held hostage. It's New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's official last day in office. His resignation takes effect at 11:59 p.m. At midnight, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul is set to be sworn in. Cuomo announced his resignation 2 weeks ago. He was facing impeachment after the state attorney general released a report finding he had sexually harassed 11 women. Cuomo has denied all of the allegations, but acknowledged some of his behavior made others uncomfortable.
And now your First Warn 5 forecast, certified most accurate by Weather Rate.
All right, a good Monday evening, Mid-Michigan. We hope your week is going great so far. Another hot day with plenty of humidity to go around, and looks like we're going to have more of a same of the repeat as we go into the next several days for your forecast. Let's go ahead and get you a grilling forecast as we're going throughout the rest of this evening. Despite a pop-up shower chance, really, I think we stay mainly dry for the remainder of your Monday. Temperatures eventually from the 80s down into the 70s as we're going throughout the rest of your Monday evening. Pinpoint Doppler radar live from MBS is keeping you mainly dry. There have been a few light showers trying to get their act together just to the southwest of Alma, also to the south of Grand Rapids, with a lot of drier air, at least in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing much in the way of any shower activity. The remnants of Henri continuing to move up the east coast, actually near Boston. Not going to be our problem. There is going to be another system, however, we'll have to keep an eye on as we go into the day tomorrow. Could give us chances for some more showers and thunderstorms, especially as we get into the afternoon of your Tuesday. I think for the rest of this evening and even into the overnight period tonight, it's going to be staying mainly dry. There will be some more clouds working in as we go into your early Tuesday morning out the door for work or school, but it looks like your main morning commute, that should be staying mainly dry, and it looks like we'll continue with that even as we get into around lunchtime. There it is right around 1 o'clock. However, as we do get into the afternoon, there will be chances for some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Looks like it's going to be coming in an isolated fashion. Not going to be for everybody, but definitely we could have some heavy downpours associated with anything that does develop. Looking to wrap up, though, as we get later on into your Tuesday evening, you still could have a few isolated showers dotting the region. We'll carry that chance even as we go into the day on Wednesday, with even some more development as we go into your Wednesday afternoon. 64 for the overnight low tonight. We'll call it clear to partly cloudy, and then we're always talking about your bus stop forecast as we're going throughout the day tomorrow. Temperatures starting out the door in the 60s, and it's going to be another hot day by the afternoon. You're talking upper 80s. Heat indices combining the humidity is going to make it feel like we are in the 90s by tomorrow afternoon. There's the forecast for tomorrow. Officially, we'll call it increasing cloud cover with the best chance for development as we go into the afternoon and early evening, and we continue to track the humidity as well. Dew points for tomorrow will be staying very high into the upper 60s, near 70s, so that's going to keep us very humid, and we have several more days of that. There you go in the 7-day forecast for the last official week of August, if you can believe that. 88 tomorrow, or I should say on Wednesday. We'll call it mid-80s Thursday. Looks like our quote-unquote coolest day will be Friday at 82, and then you continue with more hot conditions with more pop-up chances for showers and thunderstorms as we go into next weekend. David and Meg, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Miss a story? Well, you can catch up on our YouTube channel, or for the very latest updates, give us a like on Facebook and follow us on Instagram.
Well, it's definitely still summer, but for some, fall starts when pumpkin-spiced products return.
Coming up next, why the fall specialty drinks are hitting the market sooner than ever before.
And download the TV5 mobile app for the latest news and weather. It's in the App Store and on Google Play. Pumpkin fans can rejoice. Starbucks is bringing the pumpkin spiced latte back earlier than ever before.
David is psyched. The drink is making its seasonal debut tomorrow, one day earlier than last year. And the rollout comes after other competitors made their fall lineups available earlier as well.
Also making a return Tuesday at Starbucks is the pumpkin cream cold brew, a pumpkin scone, and the pumpkin cream cheese muffin.
Starbucks has sold more than 500 million pumpkin spice lattes since first introducing the drink back in 2003.
I forgot about the pumpkin cream cheese muffin. That's a good one, folks.
You just love pumpkin.
I do. I don't even think I get the latte anymore. I like the
all the
loaf
pumpkin
and
products.
yeah. It's good
The
stuff.
loaf is good, I will say.
And I'm glad that's year round.
Good. Yes, it is. All right, the news at 5:30 is next here on TV5.
And here's a look at the stories we are working on.
Gunned down while jogging. The family of a mid-Michigan woman murdered in broad daylight are still hoping for justice 5 years later. What they're doing to try to get more answers.
And Henri continues to drench the Northeast as new flooding concerns threaten the region. It's coverage you can count on.
With coverage you can count on, this is WNEM TV5 News.
Gunned down while jogging. 5 years later, and a Michigan woman's death remains unsolved. Her loved ones are still left wondering who did it and why. Thanks for joining us tonight for the news at 5:30. I'm Meg McLeod.
And I'm David Custer. As the anniversary of Allie Brugger's death passes, her parents tell TV5's Rachel McCrary they hope the reward will lead them to whoever killed their daughter in broad daylight just south of Holly.
They figured that this would get solved very quickly.
But that was 5 painful years ago when Nikki and Franz Brugger's daughter Allie was gunned down in broad daylight, a killing that has left them with many unanswered questions.
You wonder, like,
why? What did that person get out of this?
Allie Brugger was a dedicated nurse and runner. Her mother says Allie was shot on a July afternoon in 2016. The killer, using a shotgun, opening fire multiple times in the back at close range.
Allie was shot and killed as she was on her daily run here along Fish Lake Road in the Holly area.
Brugger tells TV5 that investigators initially told the family they believed Allie was the victim of a targeted attack and that Allie knew her killer. But she says now they're telling her they no longer believe that.
And he created this false sense of security in this area, not only in Rose Township, but in Holly, in Fenton, in Highland, in Heartland, all of the surrounding areas.
Brugger believes her daughter's killer is still out there and says the information provided to the public in the beginning may have hindered solving this case.
So I think it did damage, and then what it did is it prevented people that have tips thinking that this case was going to get solved right away. So, most people don't want to get involved.
While Allie's parents wait and wonder if this case will ever come to a close, they have a living reminder of their daughter, their dog Zeus, who was rescued by Allie just months before she died. But they want to know who killed their daughter and why, and hope a $20,000 reward entices a witness or informant to come forward.
It's not too late if they saw something. It's not too late if they heard something. It's not too late. And all they have to do is pick up a phone. It's anonymous.
In Rose Township, Rachel McCrary, WNEM TV5.
If you have any information about Allie Brugger's case, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. Once again, that's 1-800-SPEAK-UP.
Across Michigan tonight, 3 men were found shot to death inside a Jackson home. The Jackson County Sheriff says early yesterday morning, deputies responded to reports of a shooting and searched a home near the Sharonville State Wildlife Management Area in Grass Lake Township. They found the bodies of an 80-year-old man and 2 70-year-old men. All 3 were shot, and the investigation is ongoing.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel joined a coalition of 22 attorneys general in submitting a comment to the ATF, encouraging the agency to finalize regulations that would make clear ghost guns are firearms under federal law. They say the move would reduce the availability of these untraceable guns, and it could be a significant step in addressing the gun violence epidemic.
Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist launching a Thriving Cities tour with several stops across the state to speak with residents and analyze the impacts made by the Whitmer administration to help cities thrive and explore ongoing underlying challenges that they continue to face. The Thriving Cities tour will be making 25 stops across Michigan, including meeting with residents from Flint and Saginaw. For more information on the tour, head to the Monday Hotlink section of WNEM.com.
In Keweenaw County, a group of Michigan Tech University alumni submitted the winning bid for a former U.S. Air Force radar station in the Upper Peninsula that they hope can become a tourist destination. The bid was $227,000. For nearly 40 years, the former base, which has more than 100 acres, served as a radar station during the Cold War with the Soviet Union. Clouds moving out of mid-Michigan as we take a live look over Bay City and downtown Flint. And although it's sunny right now, some people might see a pop-up shower.
Sounds like there's a slim chance, though. Let's check in with meteorologist John Gross in the First 1-5 Weather Center. Hi, John.
Yeah, hello there, David and Meg. Very, very slim chance for today. Looks like our better rain chances won't come until about this time tomorrow. It's just going to be another hot and humid evening as we're going throughout the rest of a Monday. Let's go ahead and get you out the door and we'll show you what's going on in your neighborhood. Here's a look at our US 10 camera looking north and west. You just have a few high clouds out in the distance and plenty of sunshine to go along here in Bay County. And there's a look at the heat that we have currently in play. Your numbers mainly have you right now into the low to mid 80s. Pinpoint Doppler radar live from MBS on this Monday evening, trying to show a few light showers, trying to get going just to the south of Alma, also to the south of Grand Rapids, but quickly fizzling out. It's just along a weak boundary moving throughout the state as of right now. Remnants of Henri continuing to move up the east coast near Boston, where they're seeing plenty of rain. Good news is we won't have to deal with that specific system, but there is another one on the other side of Lake Michigan we'll keep an eye on for you as we go into the day tomorrow. But for your evening planner, the rest of tonight, temperatures eventually down from the 80s, 70s, and we look to land into the 60s for your Tuesday morning. We'll have more in your full forecast coming up in just a little bit, but Dave.
Okay, thank you, John. There's concern about more flooding and even tornadoes as Tropical Depression Henri slowly churns its way through the Northeast.
It made landfall as a tropical storm in Rhode Island last night, leaving more than 140,000 customers in the Northeast without power.
Bradley Blackburn reports from New York's Long Island.
Henri came ashore as a tropical storm Sunday afternoon in Rhode Island, flooding streets and causing transformers to explode. In Oxford, Massachusetts, fierce winds knocked over this tree, bringing down a power line.
Well, it was on fire. The live wires, I'm sure they're 13,000 volts, so they kept it hot.
Henri largely spared coastal areas, but the rain has been unrelenting inland. The concern now, more flooding. The ground is already saturated and can't hold much more.
It can flood with just another inch of rain.
In Bolton, Connecticut, flash floods wiped out a bridge.
We've been here 38 years and we've never seen water like that.
In New Jersey, the storm flooded areas in the central part of the state, causing some people to be evacuated.
We're going to have to, as a state, as a nation, as communities, as counties, we're going to have to rethink the playbook of how we preemptively prepare for more things like this.
And dramatic video captured a lightning bolt striking One World Trade Center as Henri approached New York City on Saturday. That same night, the city's Central Park recorded its wettest hour ever. Nearly 2 inches of rain fell from 10 to 11 p.m. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Dix Hills, New York.
Another 1 to 3 inches is expected across the Northeast before it moves out into the Atlantic Ocean tonight.
Wildfires and hurricanes are common this time of year, but there are ways to protect homes.
Coming up, how structural and even landscaping changes can help prevent future tragedies.
Plus, the new data showing hospitalizations of those unvaccinated against COVID is costing the U.S. healthcare system billions. In your health, analysts say hospitalizing unvaccinated people is costing the U.S. healthcare system billions. A Kaiser Family Foundation report found the average cost of a COVID-19 hospitalization is around $20,000. The foundation also looked at government data and found that 113,000 hospitalizations could have been prevented in June and July, which means more than $2 billion could have been saved during those 2 months if those people had been vaccinated. The foundation adds these figures are likely an understatement of the entire burden on the healthcare system.
Research out of Australia shows some patients with atrial fibrillation were able to keep their heart rhythm in check with exercise. Researchers suggest adding aerobic exercise into treatment plans for AFib patients, building up to 3.5 hours a week.
Major shipping delays are expected through the rest of the year.
Still ahead, why you may want to start your holiday shopping earlier.
And with more extreme weather events popping up, see why more people are now disaster-proofing their homes. But first, here's John.
And we do have another hot and humid day in store for your Tuesday. Heat indices making it feel like the 90s tomorrow. We'll have your full forecast coming up after the break.
Now, a look at today's closing stock prices in your WNEM TV5 Market Watch.
Here's a look at the stories we are working on for TV5 News at 6. Continued calls to end gun violence. A family pushing for change 10 months after they lost their little boy in a drive-by shooting. And more than a dozen school districts celebrating the first day back to school. What parents have to say as their students head back to the classroom. And working from home is ending for millions of Americans leaving pandemic pets home alone for the first time. How you can help ease the transition. Those stories coming up all new tonight on TV5 News at 6. In dollars and cents, it may only be August, but you may want to get an early start on holiday shopping and expect to cough up a little extra dough for gifts this year. That's because the shipping crisis is getting worse, and it could be higher prices for shoppers and retailers. The latest issue, a China terminal shut down because of a positive COVID-19 case, causing bottlenecks and delays for other shipping lines. There's also a truck driver shortage in the U.S. and the United Kingdom And some companies are moving production to other areas, but are still seeing delays.
A new AAA report shows new cars cost nearly $10,000 per year. That accounts for things like maintenance, insurance, registration, and taxes. According to AAA, car depreciation accounts for 40% of all expenses.
The price of crude oil dropped last week to its lowest level since May. AAA reported that the price went down $5 per barrel, closing out Friday at roughly $62 per barrel. Now that decrease coming amid a decline in demand and a drop in the national average price for gasoline. Investors fear that demand for crude will go down as coronavirus spreads. Bad news for oil investors could spell good news for drivers.
Hurricane season is here as wildfires continue to rage in the western half of the country. But there are ways to protect homes before a disaster strikes. Bradley Blackburn explains.
Hurricane-force winds can rip a home apart. Researchers at the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety set up a massive lab to run this test. Last year's Atlantic hurricane season saw a record 30 named storms, including Hurricane Sally, which led to $60 billion in damage. But Matt Fettner's Orange Beach, Alabama home was mostly unscathed.
Standing in my front yard, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new roofs in the cul-de-sac we live in. Ours was the only roof that made it through that storm.
His roof is fortified. The shingles are secured with special nails, and underneath there's an extra water barrier. The IBHS says its fortified roof standard, seen here on the right, is now on some 14,000 homes nationwide.
It's as if Mother Nature, through climate change, has busted through the front door of American families.
IBHS President and CEO Roy Wright says homeowners threatened by wildfires can also take action. This demonstration shows embers hitting 2 homes. The right side has a 5-foot gravel bed. The other, with wood mulch, ignites, spreading flames to the wood shingle siding. In Northern California's Marin County, inspectors go door to door looking for hazards like this juniper plant next to the house.
Juniper in general is just flammable. It goes up like a torch.
IBHS found clearing vegetation can double a home's chance of surviving a fire.
How should homeowners landscape around their houses?
For 5 feet all the way around, it should be non-combustible.
Simple steps that can save a home from disaster. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The federal government says there were 22 weather and climate-related disasters last year that caused at least $1 billion in damage.
And now your first Horn 5 forecast, certified most accurate by Weather Rate.
All right, a good Monday evening, Mid-Michigan. We hope your week is still going great so far. It's definitely been another hot day across the region, and looks like we're going to get a few more of those as we go later on into the week. We do have the Genesee County Fair in Mount Morris. That gets going this evening. And we also do have the Monster Truck Show, I believe, this evening there. So if you're going to be heading out, temperatures overall starting in the 80s and we'll drop down into the 70s. Just make sure to find ways to stay cool and also stay hydrated too if you're going to be spending some time for long periods outdoors. Pinpoint Doppler radar live from MBS on this Monday evening. That is keeping us mainly dry. It has been trying to pick up on a few light sprinkles, one just to the south of Alma and Gratiot County, another one just to the south of Grand Rapids. Quickly fizzling out though, it's just all along a weak frontal boundary moving in across the region. Remnants of Omri that continues to move up the east coast, producing definitely some heavy rain near New York and Boston. There will be another system that we will have to keep an eye on for us here in mid-Michigan as we go into the day tomorrow. That does look to give us better chances for some more pop-up showers and thunderstorms, especially as we get into the second half of tomorrow. Until then, things look to stay mainly dry. We'll walk you through the hour-by-hour forecast. We'll call it clear to partly cloudy skies as we're going into the overnight period tonight, and there could be a few more clouds as we're going into the early hours of tomorrow morning. I think out the door tomorrow, back to work and back to school. It looks like we'll be in pretty good shape there right around 7, 8 o'clock. Once we get past lunchtime into the afternoon, peak heating of the day with more humidity in play will give us chances for more pop-up showers and thunderstorms, something that we have seen quite often over the past several days, and it looks like we're going to do it all over again as we go into the afternoon and evening hours of your Tuesday. There's still still will be small chances for that activity as we go past midnight into your Wednesday morning. It looks like our best time frame again is going to be into the afternoon and into the evening hours as we get into the day tomorrow for any rain or thunderstorms. 64 for the overnight low tonight. We'll call it clear to partly cloudy. Another warm and humid overnight period. Probably going to have the AC on once again as we're going into the day tomorrow. Bus stop forecast out the door for the kids. We'll be starting off fairly warm. You've got numbers out the door into the mid 60s and definitely going to be another hot and humid day with air temperatures getting into the upper 80s. Combine the humidity and it's going to make it feel like we're in the 90s as we're getting into the afternoon tomorrow. We'll call it 89 again. There it is for your Tuesday. Increasing clouds with that best chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms looking to come as we get into the afternoon and into the evening. And we're also tracking your humidity as well. That's going to keep your dew points fairly elevated, upper 60s near 70. You'll definitely notice that for another day. And we also have more hot and humid days, if you can believe it, for the last official week of August. It's upper 80s Wednesday and even into the day on Thursday. It looks like our quote-unquote coolest day will be on Friday at 82. And then we continue with another hot stretch as we're going into the weekend with chances for more thunderstorms. David and Meg, we'll send it back to you.
All right, John, thank you. Mrs. Story, catch up on our YouTube channel, and for the latest updates, like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram.
And now here's a preview of tonight's new episode of People TV.
Tonight on People, it's been 35 years since 16-year-old Debbie Gibson had her first hit with Only in My Dreams. Now 50, Debbie's out with a new album, and she spoke with People about the one thing she still never expects to do.
Marriage was just never really in the cards for me. I never felt like that was my path. I thought it was in the picture I had of my life, but then it wasn't.
Debbie also talks about how she dealt with fame at such a young age.
My life has been very unconventional. I was an adult as a kid. I was employing 100 people by 17 years old.
More on that and life now for Debbie, including her battle with anxiety. It's all tonight on People.
More mysteries popping up on Mars.
Coming up next, how the Ingenuity's latest photo dump is revealing how a once wet, ancient environment has dried up over time.
And carry the power of TV5 News and Weather in the palm of your hand. Download the TV5 mobile app right now from the App Store or Google Play.
And here's Lisa Robertson with your local steals and deals.
One of the things that everybody is looking for is more time in their day. There are so many articles on saving time, getting more time, making better use of your time, and equally as many articles on how to make your hair look great. I can do both for you. This is Daphne. It's actually a brush that straightens your hair. Wait till you see how easy it is. They say if you can brush your hair, you can straighten your hair, and you can. Now, typically, if you straighten your hair, right, you got to do small pieces. It takes forever. You got to go slowly. If you go too fast, it doesn't work. If you go too slow, you burn your hair. Oh my gosh, I just burned my scalp, right? I'd like to do it more often, but who has that much time? The Daphne is something that women have said, who've used it, that it took the time to straighten their hair from 30 minutes down to 5 minutes. 30 minutes to 5 minutes. This portion is going to heat to 365 degrees, which is exactly the right temperature to style your hair, but it's not going to burn your scalp. Now you can take big pieces and just straighten large pieces, not tiny segments. If you go too slow, you're not going to burn your hair. This is such a fabulous idea. Everybody on social media is talking about this. My good friend said her daughter saw it and said, oh my gosh, I've been wanting one of those. If you want to straighten your hair every day, if you can do it in 5 minutes and you're not going to damage your hair, that's something you're going to think about doing every day. Right now on localsteals.com, these are actually 50% off. And if you know anyone who wants to have a great hair day every day, I can't think of a better idea.
Check out these new breathtaking images of Mars. NASA says its rover took 129 individual images while it traveled up the side of Mars' Mount Sharp.
The detailed compilation shows a 360-degree view of part of the red planet's Gale crater, including Rafael Navarro Mountain, named in honor of a late NASA scientist. NASA says the panorama reveals an ancient environment that has dried up over time.
They believe the rocks will tell them how this once wet planet changed into the rocky, dry land we see today.
Every time we get new images, it's so fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't look real. It looks like something out of like Star Wars or Star Trek, I guess.
Yeah, good stuff.
Amazing. Thanks for joining us tonight at 5:30.
TV5 News at 6 starts right now.
With coverage you can count on, this is WNEM TV5 News.
10 months after a family lost their little boy, their calls to end gun violence continue, holding a rally today hoping to keep another family from suffering the same fate.
Last October, 3-year-old Messiah Williams of Flint was fatally shot during a drive-by shooting as he slept, sparking anger throughout the community.
As TV5's Rachel McCrary reports, his family and supporters are still calling for justice.
As Flint crime surges, the family members of 3-year-old Messiah Williams, who was shot and killed, rally outside of the district court building, demanding harsh sentences for the suspects and calling for an end to gun violence. Dave Hurley is Messiah's grandpa. His grandson died while he was sleeping in his bed last October.
Today is the 10th month anniversary. It's been 10 months today and we haven't received justice.
4 people are charged in Messiah's death. They include Shamir Banks, Deshaun Davis, Cameron Burnett, and London Walton. A court hearing was set for today but was rescheduled.
Hurley says they'll be out protesting anytime there's a hearing in this case. He says that's so no one ever forgets the gravity of what these 4 allegedly took away from his family.
With murders in Flint up over 46% over the past year, Hurley fears other innocent children's lives are in jeopardy.
It's sad, it's heartbreaking.
Messiah's family is advocating for legislation inspired by Messiah's death, introduced by Flint Representative Cynthia Neely. It would toughen penalties for those responsible for drive-by shootings to life without parole when it involves the death of a child.
We want people to stop the senseless acts of gun violence. Our children are our future. Our children are the most important thing that we all have. And it doesn't matter whose child it is or what age that child is, these senseless acts of gun violence need to stop.
Hurley's upset that none of the suspects involved in his grandson's murder case have gone to trial or been sentenced, though he's grateful they're off the streets.
Our system is weak. It needs to be stronger. We need to show that we are not going to tolerate these senseless acts of violence in any means.
In Flint, Rachel McCrary, WNEM TV5.
Messiah's Law had bipartisan support when it was introduced in mid-June. It's now in the House Judiciary Committee.
Those who've been waiting for full approval should go get your shot now. The vaccination is free, it's easy, it's safe, and it's effective, and it's convenient.
Pfizer's COVID vaccine is now fully approved by the FDA for use in people ages 16 and older, putting it on the same level of regulation as other vaccines. Shortly after the announcement, President Joe Biden repeated his calls for public and private sector leaders to adopt requirements.
If you're a business leader, a nonprofit leader, a state or local leader who has been waiting for full FDA approval to require vaccinations, I call on you now to do that. Require it. Do what I did last month. Require your employees to get vaccinated or face strict requirements.
The Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines are also available but haven't yet received full approval. They are currently being administered under the FDA's emergency use authorization.
Thousands of Mid-Michigan students are now home from their first day of school. For some, it was their first time back to in-person learning in more than a year.
And parents tell TV5's Trevor Sahaki they're excited to be back in class but still have some apprehension because of COVID concerns.
We're just excited for him to be able to be with his friends again and have like the full experience and the social engagement.
Back to school, back to in-person learning, but COVID still in the back of parents' minds.
I am worried about just what's going on with COVID Delta right now.
Hemlock parent Dan has 3 kids, but only one of them is vaccinated.
They've been very proactive about some of the changes, better than some of the other schools, but how it shakes out, what's going to come up over the next couple months, who knows, you know?
Right now, the only place masks are required is on the bus. There's no mandate for it in classrooms.
We have him masked. Of course, he's not vaccinated, but I am. And, you know, I mean, we just are going to be able to do what we can do.
Hemlock Superintendent Don Killingbeck has a 3-tier plan for the year, for no cases, single cases, and COVID transmission.
We just had very little cases or transmission at school last year. And so one of the things, though, too, our plan is very flexible, fluid, and in the moment. We will make decisions at a micro level.
Meaning making changes to single classrooms or buildings if need be, not the whole school.
I went here as well. They have always been very clean, very diligent. And so I know that they're going to take the best care that they can of them.
Hemlock doesn't have a vaccine mandate either. It'll wait on guidance from state and local health officials on that. In Hemlock, Trevor Sahaki, WNEM TV5.
As the school year gets underway, a majority of parents nationwide support requiring students to wear masks, as most expressed at least some concern about their children contracting COVID at school. Now, this is according to a new poll by CBS News. With debates over mask mandates in schools across the country, 58% of parents support requiring masks for students in their children's school. Much like other views about coronavirus, the views were divided largely along party lines. Democrats largely believe masks should be required, while Republicans think they should be optional. Now, there is less support for schools to mandate vaccines. More than 50% of respondents said schools should not require vaccine for eligible children.
According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, in just 3 weeks, the number of COVID cases in children more than tripled. Despite that, hospitalization rates remain low at only 2%, and deaths are rare at less than 0.03%. A little over 54% of 16 to 17-year-olds have received 1 dose of the vaccine. Among 12 to 15-year-olds, that number is 45%, the lowest vaccination rate for any age group.
New tonight, an Isabella County teen is dead after crashing into a utility pole. Saturday night, 17-year-old Trent Ryan Carter was traveling near South Crawford and East Millbrook roads when his vehicle went off the road, hit a culvert, and crashed into a utility pole. Carter wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and police believe he may have been drinking.
Saginaw police are investigating a stabbing that happened late Sunday night near South Niagara and Saginaw. Police say a male victim sustained minor injuries. They believe it was a domestic-related incident.
A hot and humid evening as we take this live look over downtown Bay City and Flint. A sunny start to the week, but is anything else headed our way? Let's find out from meteorologist John Gross in the First 1-5 Weather Center. Hi, John.
Yeah, hello there, David and Meg. There will be the chance for some more of these pop-up showers and thunderstorms, something that we've been talking about all summer long. And on top of that, we're going to have plenty of heat and humidity as we go into the last full week of August, if you can believe it. Let's take you out the door and we'll show you what's going on into downtown Saginaw, where you can see there are a few high clouds out and about in our skies for this evening, and I think we will stay mainly dry for tonight. It's just going to be a very low-end shower chance. The bigger story is definitely the heat that we have in play along with the humidity. There's a look at your current temperatures right now, keeping you mainly into the low to mid 80s. Pinpoint Doppler live from MBS is trying to show a few light showers. At least they were trying to get going in throughout Gratiot County, quickly fizzling out. So I really think we stay mainly dry for tonight. Just a few clouds moving across the state as we speak. Remnants of Henri continues to move up the east coast near New York and Boston, putting down torrential rains. The good news is we will not have to deal with that system in mid-Michigan. However, there is another one on the other side of Lake Michigan that we will have to keep our eye on as we go into the day tomorrow. And the Genesee County Fair getting underway for this evening. Temperatures looking good there, and your sky conditions from the 80s into the 70s. We'll have your full forecast the rest of the hot week coming your way in just a little bit. David and Meg, it's back to you.
All right, John, thank you. U.S. Senator Gary Peters making a special stop in Flint today.
More on his meeting with city and business leaders next.
And Jeopardy announcing the first guest host in the wake of the Mike Richards departure. What's next for the primetime staple?
You're watching TV5 News at 6, serving Taymouth, Rosebush, Unionville, and your hometown too.
It's coverage you can count on. Senator Gary Peters kicking off his annual motorcycle tour from hell to Paradise, Michigan today. Along the way, he stopped in Flint at 501 Bar and Grill to talk with Mayor Sheldon Neely about the American Rescue Plan. The city of Flint received $94 million in funding through the relief package. Some of the funds will be used to support small businesses.
The only way to get through this pandemic, and we still have a ways to go. We're making headway, but we know we're not quite out of there yet. But we have to continue to stand up, particularly for our small business owners.
The plan also included direct stimulus checks to the majority of Michiganders and tax cuts for nearly 90% of Michigan families.
A nonprofit is donating hundreds of backpacks for the new school year. Tomorrow, the Flushing Police Department will be passing out bags to students. The bags were donated by the First Responders Children's Foundation. Students will be able to pick up their bag at the Raider Rally tomorrow night at Central Elementary. It runs from 6 to 8. Mayim Bialik will be the first guest host of Jeopardy in the wake of Mike Richards' departure. Sources at the show say Bialik has been tapped to tape several weeks' worth of the game show. Bialik had been slated to only host Jeopardy primetime specials before stepping in to host the main show. But it may not be so temporary. One source says Sony executives are considering making her a permanent host if she can figure out how to work on the show while also shooting her Fox sitcom, Call Me Kat. Bialik is best known for her starring roles on The Big Bang Theory and Blossom. She took more than a decade off from acting when she graduated high school and earned a PhD in neuroscience.
Work from home is coming to an end for millions, leaving pandemic pets home alone for the first time.
How you can help your furry friend prepare. Next. But first, here's John.
And we have another warm and muggy evening ahead of us with temperatures tonight dropping back down only into the 60s. We'll show you how high the numbers go for tomorrow coming up after the break.
What happens when everyone heads back to the office and their pet that's been used to all the extra love and attention is left alone for the first time in more than a year?
Isabel Rosales speaks with an expert dog trainer on the 3 steps you can take to ease separation anxiety.
All right, guys, we're going to start off with just a normal activity.
Business is booming for pet sitting companies, setting new booking records as pet parents leave home.
Who's that?
So too is demand for pet adoptions.
The pandemic really opened the doors for people to try out adopting and fostering that I always wanted to try it.
While the Delta variant is placing many return to office plans on hold, for some workers like Genesis Suarez, remote work is over. It means her pandemic pet, Benji, will stay home alone for the first time.
He usually gets really nervous, starts crying or whining.
That's why tourists turn to a professional dog trainer to address Benji's separation anxiety.
I just think it made me very anxious. I was concerned about if he would tear things up in the home, if I would get neighbors complaining about the noise level.
In a Washington, D.C. park, you'll find Scott Dancer, the dog wizard. His employees train people and their pets to face behavioral problems.
Separation anxiety is a buildup of mental energy in the dog's head.
Dancer says when you walk out the door, your dog's stress can manifest into noise and destruction.
They're just pack animals naturally, so they want to be with their pack and they get their confidence from the pack.
Dancer says there are 3 steps you can take at home to help them get ready for your return to office.
All right, thank you.
Before work, wear them out mentally with a structured walk full of commands.
That's a good girl.
Build their self-confidence. Dancer suggests command them to sit and walk away slowly. Repeat often so they learn.
Down. They don't have to be attached to you the whole time. They can be on this bench, mom can be over there, and nothing bad's happening to them.
And don't underestimate socialization.
Sometimes just exposing them to more confident dogs in a social situation like at your dog park or at the daycare, that confidence is going to rub off on one another.
He warns on your own, these techniques will take time and may not be a fix-all.
Maybe now they'll just go maybe whine for a few minutes instead of for a few hours.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
Pet parents can also use these tips to help their furry friends adjust.
Don't make goodbyes and hellos a big deal. While greetings are a way to express love, they can create anxiety for your pet and lead them to think your departure is a big deal, causing worry.
Give special treats and toys that are only given when you're gone. That new item will keep them engaged long after you've left.
And make sure your pet has access to a safe haven when you're not around, someplace they will feel comfortable all day long.
And if you see signs of pet anxiety, try to find out what's causing it and get help if the problem continues.
And now your First Warn 5 forecast, certified most accurate by Weather Rate.
All right, a good Monday evening, Mid-Michigan. We hope your week is still going great so far. I think the big story is definitely going to continue to be the hot and humid conditions living on for a few more days. On top of that, we'll have daily storm chances as well in the mix. Let's go ahead and get you a grilling forecast. I think actually for the rest of this evening, we should be in fairly good shape. It's just going to be a very low-end shower chance, but most of the rest of this evening and even into the overnight does look to stay dry. Temperatures eventually from the 80s down throughout the 70s as we're going throughout the rest of your Monday evening. Pinpoint Doppler radar live from MBS on this Monday evening is keeping us mainly dry. It has been trying to pick up on just a few very light showers just to the south of Alma there in Gratiot County. Other than that, it's staying mainly dry, and it looks to do so again as we go into the overnight period. Here's the latest on the remnants of Henri. That continues to move up the east coast from New York and now moving throughout Boston. Torrential rains out on the east coast. Unfortunately, we will not have to deal with that system as we're going into our forecast. There will be another system on the other side of Lake Michigan that we'll have to keep an eye on as we go into tomorrow afternoon. That does look to give us more chances for some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Until then, things staying mainly dry. We'll walk you through the hour by hour as we go into the overnight period. We'll call it clear to partly cloudy as we wake up into your Tuesday morning. I think out the door for tomorrow, back to work and back to school for some of us. It looks like we'll be staying mainly dry for your main morning commute. As we get past lunchtime into the afternoon, we've seen it time and time again. Peak heating will cause the chance for a few showers and thunderstorms to develop. There it is being depicted on the model right around dinner time, 5, 6 o'clock. That looks to be our best window of opportunity, and you could get some heavy downpours if you do get under one of those developing in your area as we go into tomorrow. Really starting to wrap up, it looks like once we get past midnight, but we're going to keep that isolated chance for a few more stragglers as we go into your early Wednesday morning. Here's your forecast as we go overnight tonight. I think it's mainly dry again, 64 with clear to partly cloudy skies. We'll call it warm, and it will be humid, and the humidity, that's not going anywhere anytime soon. We got a bus stop forecast for you tomorrow out the door for the kids, 65 starting, and it's going to be a very hot day once again by the afternoon. Air temperatures reaching into the upper 80s. Your heat indices are going to make it feel like we're in the 90s. There's the forecast as we go throughout the day tomorrow. We'll call it increasing cloud cover. It looks like most of the morning's dry. Again, past lunchtime into the afternoon and early evening will be your best chance for any of that development with the hot and humid conditions. And we also continue to track your humidity values as well. Those are going to keep you very elevated, upper 60s, near 70. We'll go ahead and talk about the heat indices as we're going into the day, not only tomorrow, going to be feeling like the 90s as we get into the afternoon, and it's going to be a little bit of a rinse and a repeat even as we get into the day on Wednesday. Take a look at these numbers, some of the hottest air that we've seen of the season so far. So make sure you take it easy out there if you're working for long periods of time outdoors. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast, the last official week of August before we flip the calendar into September. You've got upper 80s carrying you throughout most of the week. It looks to be our coolest day on Friday, quote unquote 82, with these chances for pop-up showers and thunderstorms. That does look to continue even as we go into the upcoming weekend. David and Meg, we'll send it back to you.
Okay, thank you, John. And if you miss a story, catch up on our YouTube channel. But for the very latest updates, give us a like on Facebook, follow us on Instagram.
All new tonight, a man's personal connection to American history.
How a black Civil War reenactor discovered his grandfather's formerly unrecognized legacy. On the news at 10 on TV5+.
Then after NCIS Los Angeles, how should Bay City spend the $31 million it's getting from the federal government? What residents have to say at 11.
Also at 11, sticker shock for consumers. Some key numbers showing the effects of inflation. An official operation in the Washington state woods looked more like a sci-fi movie.
Entomologists dressed in moon suit-looking protective gear confirmed tight for honeybees.
If left unchecked, they could ultimately threaten crops that depend on bees for pollination.
Wow. Exactly.
It did look like it was out of a sci-fi movie.
Like a hazmat situation or something.
Yes.
But my gosh, I don't even know what you could wear that would terrify me.
And it's amazing that modern day science can find exactly
Yeah.
in all of the woods where these murder hornets are.
Yeah.
So that they can stop them because we need to save the bees.
Good thing, right, that they did stop them.
All right.
Terrifying.
You gotta love
Yes.
science though, right?
Of course.
It's looking good. All right, and your forecast is looking hot and humid, and you do have chances for some more pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but I think our bigger story is definitely going to be the hot conditions that we will have. Your air temperatures for the next several days keep you in the 80s, but we're going to have plenty of humidity to go along with that, so your heat indices, especially throughout the afternoon, is going to be making it feel like the 90s, some of the hottest air we've had of the season. Take it easy out there. David and Meg, back to you.
Okay, take it easy. That's some good advice.
Yes.
All right, thank you for joining us tonight.
We'll see you back here tonight at 11. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for watching WNEM TV5. Watch us live wherever you are on our website, our mobile, and on our streaming news app. You can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.